This is WFO Radio.
Like that. WFO, everybody. How you guys doing out there? WFO Radio back on the air. NHRA Nitro. We got the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, going to join us seconds from now as we recap the Thunder Valley Nationals at Bristol Dragway and just 2 races to go in the 2021 Camping World Series in general. 2 races to go. Vegas, Pomona, baby, and it's going to be very interesting based on what we have seen and learned, and we are down to the wire in a couple of categories. A couple others taking shape a little bit more so. We'll get into all that with Alan Reinhart. If you're out there and you're a fan of NHRA drag racing, I recommend you share the show, like put it out there, especially those of you watching on YouTube. Subscribe, click the bell, smash the bell, and never miss a show on YouTube. We're going to try to really focus on the YouTube for everyone out there as time goes by. Just seems to be where the most stable connection is. And a lot of people out there on YouTube as well. Those of you watching in our group, the group has exploded. We got like 150 requests for our WFO group. And a lot of them are like, I don't know, sketchy. No offense to the folks out there, but you got to have like a picture of a drag race car and be connected to somebody that is also a fan of WFO, right? You would think like just random people from the Philippines. No offense, Philippines. But it's just kind of interesting what's happened with the Facebook group. But we continue to roll and grow and move and groove. I want to say thank you to everybody who checked out the Engine Performance Expo last week. We had a great time. An hour with Warren Johnson, an hour with Roy Johnson. We spent some time with George Bryce. It was great, and that's all archived up on the web as well. And great opportunity to talk about one of the companies who made it possible, talking about Total Seal piston rings, the leader in ring seal technology, TotalSeal.com, one of the big sponsors of the Engine Performance Expo and WFO Radio. We appreciate them. And if you're building an engine, or more importantly, an engine builder, and you haven't kept up on the latest, greatest technology because what you've been doing has always worked, and so why bother to update it? I highly recommend you go to the website, check out some information, give them a call. Call Keith Jones or Lake Speed or the guys over there, and they will get you up to speed. There is more power available, and check out our Hidden Horsepower podcast that we do for them and subscribe because you will be surprised. We got some big episodes getting ready to drop real soon. Frank Iaconio, Gary Stennett, among others. Check them out, TotalSeal.com. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Now, I'm always pushing the dragster adventure, and the holidays are coming, guys. Like, you don't know what you're going to get for your friends for the holidays. And chances are whatever you want to get them for the holidays isn't available and you can't get it. Then it's on the camel's back. So why not just go to frankhawley.com, get way ahead of the deal. Courses start at $399. Yeah, that's a great gift. And whoever you're getting the gift for, you present them the certificate and allow them to decide what point and where in 2022 they're going to go spend a day with Frank Hawley and drive dragsters for fun. And you'll be a hero for the entire year as opposed to that other thing you were going to buy that might not even show up. Right. What a good spot that was. Let me tell you, touching all the touchstones of what's current. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Saw Brian Massengale out there in Dallas a few weeks ago, and the school is running well. They've got courses available, and you can check them out. Motorsport EFI tuning, blockhead, CNC programs. And at the Engine Performance Expo, Samtech was one of the presenters, and lots of information. And they got shouted out a bunch of times by people in the industry who were trying to nurture the next generation and say, like, when we encounter these guys, they always know what they're talking about from out of school. And so check them out, samtech.edu. And then there's Marvin Rodak, rodakscoffeeandgrills.com. Hot sauces and spice rubs, everything great. Marvin Rodak, if you listen to the Ignition Show, you know we've got a little Rodak drama going on. Will the folks at American Airlines ship me my Rodak's coffee and hot sauce that I checked in with them in Dallas? Will that happen? Oh, man, you got to listen to the Ignition Show to find out as we go along. But you won't have that problem when you call Marvin, 817-924-6821. That is rodakscoffeeandgrills.com. Later on in the show, I'll tell you about the WFO store and some of the upgrades we're making and made. But in Patreons, of course, we'll talk about them. New people joining the Patreon club every week. Patreons every single week. But right now, let's bring on the voice of the NHRA. Let's bring him on. Call the action. The Thunder Valley Nationals, Mr. Alan Reinhart, who is home in Tucson, Arizona. What's up, AR? How are you?
I'm good. It's a beautiful day in Arizona, and I've got a week to be home and catch up and get some stuff done. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Having said that, Thursday I'll get up and not go to the airport and think, oh, geez, I must have forgot something.
I'm in that boat now where I'm starting to think, like, I wake up in my house and I'm like, where am I? Where's the restroom? How do I go? Where's my stuff? This week I'll be home, and I was planning on, like, what am I going to do with my time? But I have something planned already. My 30-year high school reunion is Friday. 30 years, Alan. It's been 30 years since I was a senior in high school. Yeah.
That's fine. It took me almost 30 years to graduate from high school, so we have that in common.
You always make that joke. The self-deprecating humor, as if, very sharp character. But yeah, I could have behaved a little better in high school as well. I could have been a better guy. I hope nobody.
Yeah, me too, but everybody didn't have camera phones in their pockets, so you can't prove that.
Isn't that the truth?
It's feel not bad on Facebook or YouTube, any place in an archive. So, as far as you know,
documenting what jerks they are. Right? Like they're all documenting the bad stuff they did. And at their 30th high school reunions, they'll have a big screen. Lenny, remember when you did this? Up on the screen. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I hope I make it to see them lament their behavior. There you go. We got people weighing in out there, Alan. People shouting out Scrappers. How about Scrappers Racing? And Monica's out there just saying what's up. And everybody's saying what's up. Good afternoon. Thank you for the race recap. Missed the race, Stewart, to the Ravens game, right? I get it. It's NFL season. But I really think that anybody, how about them two ladies? I think anybody that disconnects from the NHRA right now, making a dramatic mistake. It couldn't be more exciting right now. The personalities, the rivalries, and the championships are coming down to the wire in intense ways.
Yeah, and basically we snugged up most of them this weekend. Steve picked up a couple extra points in the Top Fuel side of things, but Funny Car certainly tightened up a little bit. There's a brand new player front and center and coming into Las Vegas with some momentum in the pro stock motorcycle category. So it's going to be fun the last couple of races. I don't believe the engraver has started writing names on the trophies just yet for anybody other than obviously Pro Mod and Factory Stock Showdown. But
yes, and Pro Mod, of course, Jose Gonzalez gets the job done. And let's start off there because he won the championship and J.R. Gray won the race. And I got an email from Steve Brenwald who said, he was just kind of doing his what grinds my gears rant. And I agree with what he says, which is whenever there's a champion crowned and a different race winner, I don't want to say the race winner gets lost, but he definitely gets overshadowed. J.R. Gray winning his first race was a big deal, but Jose Gonzalez, this guy won his first championship, and it was a very intense tabulation because of the center line potential infraction and potential oil down infractions. These are all things that people, I don't know if they're taking into consideration when they go on the Facebook and it's like, he's going to clinch this round. It's like, well, maybe.
Yeah, it's difficult because we are a sport that can take points off the board for an infraction. Okay. If you're playing football and if you score a touchdown, there's holding. Okay. You bring the play back. You don't get the touchdown. I get it. But if you score a touchdown and then next play, there's holding, they don't go back and take the touchdown away. But in NHRA, because if it's a safety violation, if there is a penalty that comes up, they will take points off the board. And so you have to take into consideration the fact that, yes, mathematically right now, Joe has such a big lead that even if he doesn't show up and Alan wins out, Alan can't catch him. So he's the champion. But what if Joe goes to Vegas, crosses the center line on the first run? Now he's going to get deducted points. What if he goes out and does it again on the second run or has a big oil down? And so that's one of the things you have to take into consideration. Did everybody know that Jose was the champion basically in the second round? Certainly. But you can't call it a lock until it's mathematically locked, and there's no way that it can happen. And so that's basically why we waited until the end of the day, before crowning the champion. In the Super Bowl, if you're up 3 touchdowns and there's 18 seconds left, can you score 3 touchdowns in 18 seconds? No. But you still can't celebrate until the clock runs down to 0. So that's what we're waiting for. Is that everybody knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of waiting until it was officially done before we did the celebration. We did bring both of them up into the winner's circle in front of the tower, spoke to him individually, spoke to JR about his first win, and he was obviously pretty excited about that. And then spoke to, I love Jose because he's, you've spoken to him. He's
Yes.
very soft-spoken. He's not a guy that jumps up and down and nobody's ever going to mistake him for Stevie Fast Jackson in an internet debate. But he comes up, we're talking about, big picture this, and he said, the most emotional thing I think he said, I'm still pissed off that I red lit in the final. He said, I wanted to win the race too. But, good for him. He had just a tremendous season. When you think of everything that he went through, from crashing the car to having one air freighted over here from the Mideast to trying to get back into the points deal. And he's, if he'd have won one race, he would have considered the season a success after the way it started, the things that happened. And then he just went on a tear. So, congratulations to him. They did a great job. Obviously, they got really good power with that, Alan Johnson Proline power they got under the hood, Steve Petty. And even though Jose was flying in sometimes a day late to come into the races because he was so busy, when he got there, he was able to get focused on the task at hand and make it happen.
I spoke with Steve. He was really funny. Like as the calculating was going on, and my like Jim says, what your quote is usually numbers is hard, right? Which is kind of a grammar joke more than a numbers joke, but I get it. So I went down to Steve and I was like, "Hey, man, what's your calculation on this championship?" He's like, "I don't know, man. I'm just trying to win the race." He goes, "I win the race, we win the championship." He goes, "I don't know about any of that." And it was really funny because Steve Petty is, revered character, but also has the ability to be very funny in the right moment. And they got it done and they won it. Corey Savoy out there says, I'm digging the back and forth banter between you guys at the track. Keep it up. Yeah, we've been having fun over the past couple of weeks, thanks to these helmets. They won't fit, Alan.
Oh, you think it's fun? I just think you're annoying.
Yeah, but that's the fun of it because I'm being annoying on purpose for my own entertainment. No, man, we're going whatever it is. Right?
No, it's all part of it. If I've told announcers for as long as people have come to me and asked for guidance, or if all you're going to do is read the stats, then all you need is somebody who can read. There has to be more to it. You have to bring something more to the table, whether it's an inside knowledge of the stats, the mechanics of it, or if it's going to be humor and personality, you have to bring something more to it. So, I'm a big believer that's all part of the presentation, and again, I've, talked to announcers, if all you're going to do is read the stats, just send me somebody that can read. And, there's got to be more to it than that. So, if we're having a little fun and the fans are getting into it, then wonderful. That's great.
And we had a lot of celebrities out there, right? Michael Waltrip out there. It was cool. It was cool to see. And I think the big Tony Stewart announcement, we'll get into the results. Of course, I want to talk Top Fuel, but this is the story. Some called it the worst kept secret in NHRA. I hate that kind of stuff because it's not that it's a poorly kept secret. It's that the people are being respectful to the team making the announcement. And that is not, those aren't aligned. A poorly kept secret. No, that's not what it is that people are being respectful of Tony and Leah and Matt for their deal. That's going to be a great deal for the sport of drag racing. They're out there at ZMAX. Glenn Cromwell was there. They had a big announcement, press conference streamed out on Tony's YouTube page. He was out there. Leah was fired up. She lost first round, which was a bummer for her, but still spoke with us about partners coming on and different stuff. This is going to be, in my opinion, maybe I'm overstating it, but Tony Stewart is the AJ Foyt of the modern era, right? The do everything kind of racer.
Same number too.
Right. For him to look at the NHRA, recognize that there's opportunity and dive in, I think it is great for our sport. All kinds of fresh eyes and fresh concepts coming in. People who are savvy, racing savvy, business savvy. I think this is one of the biggest deals that we have seen in a long time. Tony Stewart drag racing.
I agree. I think that, having Smoke over here is certainly going to be a plus for us. He wouldn't do it if he didn't see it as a positive for him. One thing that I think Tony gets overlooked a lot when people talk about Tony Stewart, everybody talks about his racing accomplishments, right? Everything he's done from, go-karts to Outlaws to NASCAR to IndyCar to da-da-da-da. I think a lot of people don't give him enough credit for his business savvy because he has been able to make it work, whether it's at the team ownership level when Gene Haas brought him in as a partner because they needed something over there at Stewart Haas Racing, and he obviously was able to turn that around and turn it from a mid-pack-ish team to a championship contending team, and he's shown results there, to buying Eldora Speedway and turning that into a viable business, to being one of the founding partners of SRX and making that a viable business. I mean, that thing went over way bigger than they expected in the first year, and obviously they're coming back again in 2022. But I think, when people think of Tony, their first thing is like, man, that guy can drive anything, that guy can win anything. But I don't think he gets enough credit for just how business savvy he is. He doesn't go into things, blind. He doesn't go in there and go, okay, well, let's just throw a bunch of money in and see what happens. He goes in with what's going to be the investment, what's going to be the return, what's going to be the timeline, what's going to be needed to make this happen, and makes sure that all of the ingredients are there and that all of the things are in place to be able to make it successful. Tony's not doing this because he thinks drag racing is cool. Tony's doing this because he thinks drag racing is a good business opportunity. And oh, by the way, it happens to be pretty cool also.
Yes, absolutely. And the questions, like Micah says, has it been said if Matt's team is going with him? That is my understanding, is that team, as it is going over there. I mean, maybe you have another detail, but that's my understanding.
Well, they haven't announced a bunch of stuff yet, simply because a number of the things that would be announced are currently employed by or under contract with other people. If WFO Radio has been sponsoring Alan Reinhart Racing for the last 5 years, and now you're dumping me to go someplace else next year, I mean, if nothing else, it's just good business sense to close out your deal with me before you make the announcement. The fact that drivers are changing, that's all they announced. Tony is forming a team. These are my drivers. They didn't announce any sponsors. They didn't announce any, because there are so many other moving parts right now. It's the same thing. I think back to when Tony Pedregon left John Force Racing all those years ago. Tony won the championship and then left to start his own team. And it was rival everything, right? Rival manufacturer, rival oil company, rival tool company, right? Everything Tony was doing was rival with John. And even though it was known, and even though Tony had announced that he was starting his own team, out of respect for John, they waited until the end of the season before they said, okay, here's going to be my sponsor package. Here's going to be what I'm doing. Because Tony was still under contract to drive the Castrol Pontiac at that time, or Ford Castrol Mustang at that time, until the end of the year. And so he was going to fulfill that contract. I think it's a classic case of, and maybe it's not the same way these days as it was, when I was back in the day, but if I'm leaving a job, I always wanted to give notice. I wanted to try to leave without burning a bridge, because you just never know what's going to come back. And I had an employer one time that I went and spoke to, and he said, okay, yeah. He said, when can you start? And I said, I need to give 2 weeks notice at my other job. And he said, I'd like to have you tomorrow. Just quit. And I said, would you like me to do that to you when I quit? And he said, see you in 2 weeks. I said, okay, good. Because, I like to think that I've at least got a little bit of integrity, and I think that's just all part of it. You're not going to announce that, hey, this guy's leaving and coming with me. That's why there's a lot of announcements that are still up in the air right now. Something like Mike Green making the announcement that I signed, I'm coming back, I'm staying with my team, is a different deal, because that wasn't somebody that's moving. That's somebody that says, get me out of your stupid rumor mill. I got a job and I'm happy with my job. Just leave me alone. So, there's going to be a lot coming down. I expect to hear some stuff, probably a PRI show. I think there'll be some announcements coming then, but yeah, there's still just a lot of moving parts, and it kills me. Well, I know because I heard from a guy who talked to a guy. I know because I talk to Tony on a regular basis. I know a lot of stuff. I talk to Leah on a regular basis. We do youth and education. We do other stuff, but it's not my place to tell. When he's got an announcement to make, when he's got things that are done, finished, signed. How many times over the years have been, WFO is going to sponsor, a done deal, and then it doesn't happen. Well, why didn't it happen? Because it wasn't a done deal. So when it's a done deal, announcements will come out, and we'll all find out.
And this guy says the offseason would be long and boring if everything got announced right now anyway, which is kind of what I advocate for, is that I know that we're talking about this, but look, Mike Salinas just won his first race since in a long time. And there's all this hot stove going on, right? Like hot stove is for the offseason. And, Mike Green, he's going here, he's going there. No, he's not. He's staying put. Oh, okay. And people love that stuff. Let's push it back into the offseason, guys. I get it. Everybody likes it. But how about the on-track results? But before we get to that, Tony Schumacher coming back is a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big deal for his fans. He's got all these fans that he's created and cultivated for decades. And sorry, like when your guy is not out there, it's not the same. Like, oh, I'll just pick another guy. No. And now he'll be back. Tony Schumacher, who got married the other day. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to Hiddy and Summer. And see, that's another thing. You know, when they made that announcement, they announced the crew chief. But what they announced is Todd Okahara is staying at DSR. That's what they announced. Todd Okahara is not making a move. And basically what that is get me out of your rumor mill. I have a job. I like my job. I'm staying in my job. Don't talk about me. Go on to something else. And that's why it was announced the way it was.
Yes, exactly. And see, like all the news, man, the Capco becoming Toyota, is the TRD alliance with Capco going to affect their other alliances? Like, oh my God.
No. Capco, Torrance is going to get trackside engineering support from Toyota. And I would imagine support vehicles. So they'll be dragging the dragster around in the pits with the Toyota Tundra, Toyota Tacoma. That's what it's not going to be. It's not going to be the Toyota top fuel car.
Right.
Torrance has made an agreement to get trackside engineering from Toyota, just like Antron Brown gets, just like all the Coletta Motorsports team gets, just like Alexis gets. He has joined the Toyota family for trackside engineering and support. And, you know, just what they need, right? More information, more engineering, more trackside support. Right. That should be what pushes Capco over the edge. Because, boy, they've been so close to being a good team. If only they had some more trackside engineering support. But, you know, Toyota does a spectacular job out there. They send a team and they send a tech trailer. Not, you know, a number of the teams have their own tech trailer. Toyota sends a team and a tech trailer to go out there and support all of their teams. And now Torrance is going to come under that umbrella.
And on that note, you know, like what I used to think to what I think now file, like I am not afraid to update and moderate my opinions over years and new evidence. Man, Toyota's so good for the sport of drag racing. Years ago, I was like, I don't know, man, Toyota coming in. Is that a good thing? Once again, it turns out, based on anecdotally, I don't know what the numbers are, but I think they are the most involved manufacturer, you know, them and Dodge, right? Toyota is heavily involved. And they are without Toyota, like we would see a huge drop off. Thank you, Toyota, for being involved. That's it.
Well, you know, they have their way of doing things, and that is to go out there and supply engineering support and information to the teams that are supported by Toyota. There isn't necessarily a Toyota car, although from time to time somebody will do a wrap, but it's not like, you know, it's not like Joe drives the Toyota funny car for, you know, TRD for, no, Joe drives the WFO Toyota funny car that gets engineering, gets support. That's their way of doing business. Mopar's way of doing business is much more of a branding and marketing standpoint. If they go out there and they put SRT on one, they put Hellcat on one, or they put, you know, a Mopar Express Lane, that's just the way that they do things. And it's kind of a different model. I had a really interesting, this is going to be way off topic, but I had a really interesting conversation with Bob Tasca last week about they have acquired a couple of new dealerships in various places in the country. And he said, when we acquire a dealership, okay, if we go in and we buy Alan Reinhart Ford, and that's going to come in under, he said, we go in and we sit down with them and we go, look, here is the Tasca way of doing business. This is how this store is going to run. Oh, but Bob, I've always done it this way and I've always done it that way and I've always been successful. I don't care. He said, there's probably 40 different ways out there you can run a dealership and be successful. We do it this way. Now, if you want to come on board and stay and be a part of our family, that's wonderful. This is how we do it. If that doesn't work for you, then it was very nice to meet you and have a nice day, and we'll find another general manager to come in and run the place. But, you know, there's just different ways to do it. Toyota's approach to what is the best way to get the most for our marketing buck and help all of our teams versus Mopar or Dodge's way to what's the best way to go in there, get the bang for our buck and get our exposure to our, they're just different philosophies. I'm not saying one's better than the other. They're just different. If everybody was the same, wouldn't that be boring?
Exactly. It would be boring. Look at, like, for instance, this guy, Fritzl Garage, watching from Warsaw, Poland. It's 7:30 at night out there. Isn't that cool? Long distance award. Way to go. Drag racers everywhere, right? Fans of NHRA everywhere. We had another gentleman who's 18 hours away or something watching, and he's trying to get to the States. This guy sounds like an inside comment, Alan. Alan misspelled, by the way, guys. Alan is Alan. He's serious.
Well, he can't be that far inside. I mean, come
right,
on.
exactly. Well, right. Lance said Chevy wagons are only worth $1,500. I think a green Mustang grudge race to settle the score. Do you have any idea what that's about? I know Lance is Jason's brother. Is that like a throwback to that conversation?
Yeah, that goes back to Jason Line station wagon, and you can Google that. Go on summit.com and just put Jason Line's wagon in the search. He'd been searching for a Bel Air wagon forever and ever. Found one in Arizona. I went and bought it. I delivered it to Vegas. He took it home. He did this whole frame off. Did this, put a 500 whatever inch big block in it. It was a really, really cool car. And we started mouthing off about whose car was going to be faster. And we actually had set up that we were going to take them both to Dallas because that's sort of halfway. Graham had given us his blessing that we could go out and, just race the things like end of the day, right? Last two cars, kind of like the jet car deal. We'd be the last two go out there and we could just settle this once and for all. And then I went out and did some testing with my car and kind of let the beans spill about how fast my car was. And Jason got so scared he sold his. So the chance of having a match race is never going to happen. And Lance, when I bought the car, I went and bought it. Called Jason, said, done deal, got the car. And then Lance got involved and said, and I don't remember exactly what the number was. I gave $3,500 or $4,000 for it. And Lance said, we'll offer him $1,500. What's he going to do with that piece of junk? And just insider smack talk that was all well and good.
We had fun with it on WFO for a while. That thing kept us going for a couple of years. We got to get mine. The Mustang is still
has his.
He's still got something different. Yeah, well, he quit.
Mine's faster.
Well, there is nothing anymore. But all right, let's get into this whole top fuel eliminator. I got the numbers up. Finally, the numbers are up, Alan, and now we can officially talk results. Where Steve Torrance was the number one qualifier. They went out there. I remember Force coming up to me about Brittany's numbers. Is that low? And I was like, no, it's not. And that was a big step forward for Team Capco. Beat Cam Ferret in the first round, got that second round bye because of the short field, which I was a little disappointed about, but whatever. And then another big matchup with Justin Ashley in the semis, and Justin missed the tree. Very uncharacteristic, but he would have had to have gone in the 30s to beat Steve with his 59 and 367. And then in the final round, other side of the ladder, Mike Salinas and Brian Hewson and Alan Johnson. Have they been on a tear or what? Getting better and better. We had a rematch, the St. Louis final round. Salinas gets through Antron, a champ, gets through Clay in a great race, and gets through Brittany. Salinas with a 53 light, goes 44 in the final round. And Mike Salinas' driving has really come into its own. And he told us, and I don't know about if he told you, I'm sure he did, but that he's crediting the Pro Mod experience for a lot of it, that he has kind of relearned some things. And he said that he worked with Jose Gonzalez on some procedural deal. So imagine that. Jose Gonzalez, Pro Mod racer, working with Salinas. Salinas driving works for him, and he goes out there and he's getting it done. Race winner.
Yeah, he told me the same thing when we were talking with him and with the crowd out there on the starting line after it was over with, said that Jose Gonzalez was instrumental. And he made the comment at one point, you got to find your inner 16-year-old. He said, all the kids come out here and are just tearing it up. And it's like, okay, well, one of the things that Frank Hawley teaches, and if you ever go to Frank Hawley, if you ever have any crazy idea about maybe, is it worth the investment to go to Frank Hawley's, and not just the dragster experience, but to go through like either Super Comp or Super Gas experience, which is a couple of days. It's a little bit more money, but holy smokes, the education is amazing. And one of the things he talks about is reaction time does not slow down because you get older. Period. It doesn't. And his example that he uses is you take a 15-year-old, you take a 40-year-old, you take a 60-year-old, and you blindfold them all. And then you stick them all in the butt with a pen. Is the 60-year-old going to take 2 seconds to jump? Of course not. He's going to get stuck with a pen. He's going to say, hey, you're sticking me with a pen.
Right.
That's reaction time. How fast you react to it, that's react, and you don't lose that because you get a few years older. What happens is the filter gets clogged. When you're sitting in a race car and you know what you need to do, you know the deal, you see the light, you register, okay, that's the light, time to go, move my foot. What happens is that the processor gets clogged. When you're young and all you think about is, I'm going to rip this guy's throat out or this gal's throat out. And I'm going to, you're just like, let's go do this. Boom, boom, boom. As you get older, as you get more mature, as you get more stuff, then And one of the things you got to be real careful about, especially if you're a hands-on guy like a Greg Anderson, if you're sitting in the car going, man, I hope we got the clutch right. The guys, okay, yeah, I'm sure they did the wheelie bars. Did we make the right tire pressure call? Oh, crap, the light's on. And being able to disconnect and shut all that stuff off, whether it's in the car, whether it's business, whether it's whatever, you just have so much going on in your mind that it takes longer for the signal to get through here, go through all of this, and then reach your thumb or your foot or whatever it is that you're leaving on the starting line. And you've got to figure out a way to bypass that. And that is what will help a reaction time, no matter how old you are.
Yes. And I think that is great. I need to do it. I'm just even in other things, right? That's true in other things. You have to clear your mind if you're truly going to focus. Somebody had mentioned the Dalton Milliken rap on Clay's machine. And that was as emotional as it gets. He goes out there and he's able to get to the second round. He had Mike Klober talked about Clay, talking about the car almost blew over. One of our listeners, Genghis out there, it's up on our social media. We forwarded it along, got a great shot of it. The front wheel's like a foot and a half in the air on one of those bumps out there at Thunder Valley. Pretty crazy moment, but great for Clay to have that moment and experience that. Pretty emotional, and it just all ties together. Point standings, Steve Torrance over Brittany by 73, 147 ahead of Justin. Mike Salinas 150. Justin, they had a shot, man. They had a shot to drive their way right back into the middle of it, and unfortunately weren't able to do it. Those are the moments in the countdown, right? Like, we'll remember that run as where maybe it went south for Justin. Now, with 1.5 points at the finals, anything is still possible. It just seems highly unlikely that Steve and Brittany are both going to go out early in the next two races, and Justin's going to win them both. But like we said at the start, it's not over.
Now, Justin's got a real good car right now. And, Vegas, obviously the picture will be very, very clear once we get out of Vegas. But I think that's what everybody's concentrating on right now. We need to go to Las Vegas. We need to have a good showing in Las Vegas. If you're Brittany, you need to not lose any more ground in Las Vegas. If you go into Pomona, basically 2.5 rounds back, which is where she would be with 1.5 points, you still have a chance. If you go in there more than 100 points back, 1.5 points, I don't care. Unless Steve just collapses or forgets where the Fairplex is, you're pretty much out of it. So you've got to be sure to not lose any more ground. If you're Justin, if you're Mike Salinas, you need to make ground in Vegas. You need to make ground because, and I don't mean like beating him in the final. I mean, potentially if you're one of those guys, if you can get him in the second round, if you can get him in the semi, get him someplace where you can get him out of there and then take advantage of that. And that's what has to happen. So the ladder in Vegas will be the real telling thing.
Yes. And it's really hard to get next to someone that you want to get next to on the ladder. And that is the challenge.
Just ask Greg. He did it.
Well, and the roles might be reversed this year. We'll talk about it when the time is right, but you never know. They might play that game in reverse at the finals this year, depending on what happens. Let's move over to funny car, though. Alexis DeJoria, number 1 qualifier, and goes on to win the race. That was a big deal. Beats Paul Lee in the first round, got a bye run second round, took down Robert Height in the semis with a 90, and then anticipated the tree, but got it. 002, right? Like sometimes everyone will say you'd rather be lucky than good. Well, that was a combination of both. She anticipated the tree. 002 takes down JR. Credit to JR, who drove himself, that team drove themselves back into championship contention. And not just themselves, but others, by taking out Matt Hagan, by taking out John Force, by taking out Ron Capps, who crossed the center line and lost some points. The championship title race really tightened up because of JR and the Yellow Fellas and what they were able to do. Ron leads Hagan by 1, JR by 83, Cruz by 101, and John by 101. And those are the drivers that I believe that are in legitimate contention. But big weekend back against the wall for JR Todd, and he's able to deliver. But in the end, it was Alexis getting a race win.
And how did JR do that?
How did JR do that? By
manipulating qualifying so he would race Matt round 1. That was 100% intentional.
Of course. Why don't these guys just put on a clinic on how to do it for everybody else? They'll be happy to sell you their intellectual property.
Yeah, when the ladder was set, I actually put out a Twitter poll on Saturday night, pick a side, because JR's championship hopes that was it. If he loses that first round, he's got no shot.
That's it.
Because Matt's going to gain. That's a 40-point swing just between those two. And then depending on how far Matt goes the rest of the day, JR would have zero shot if he loses that round. But, the interesting thing, if you talk to basically anybody in the nitro pits, they would tell you the right lane was the place to be. JR loved the left lane. They picked it when they could. The only time they ran in the right lane, and for those guys, when they didn't have lane choice and the guys are going, you get the left lane, they're going, yippee. And then in the final round, when they put Alexis over in the right, because they liked the left lane also. Now, whether that's something, maybe that's something that the Toyota engineers figured out, that, hey, look, this is the way to manipulate, because Bristol Motor Speedway or Bristol Dragway, everybody talked about, the fact that you have to be able to manipulate the tunnels. Where the tunnels go under the racetrack, you've got to be able to manipulate that. And perhaps that, it was, I guarantee you, having Toyota engineering didn't hurt when they went up there and looked at, okay, well, this is what we got to do in the right lane. This is what we got to do in the left lane. We really feel more comfortable over here. And that's where they were making a living. But they made really good runs down what most people would tell you was the less preferred side of the racetrack. And, that's where the race was won. So JR climbed back in it. He certainly kept some of the other players in. Ron Cap should send him a Christmas card if he ends up winning the championship when it's all said and done. But, and for Alexis, she just loves the place. She said early qualifying, right? This is the first place we went to a final. Before anything happened, just how much she loved the place. The racetrack had always been good for her, comfort zone. Mike Salinas exactly the same way. One thing we didn't mention in Top Fuel, that was a rematch of the final in 19.
Yes.
We didn't run there in 20. So Mike Salinas, the defending champ, came back and beat Steve again. And oh, by the way, in 18, Mike Salinas was in the final there. So, that's just a place that he's comfortable. And I think that plays huge into the whole mental aspect of the game. I'm going to a field where I've won before, where I've been successful before, when I'm okay. That puts me in a good frame of mind as soon as I come through the gates. And it certainly did for Alexis.
Yeah, it was good for Alexis. You mentioned it was good for Mike as well. And, the championship title has closed up. It's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. But the points leader now, Ron Capps, and I'm sure they're very happy about where they are. They did get beat by a JR, but, they have the points lead. Hagan was a couple of races ago. We were thinking they have the potential going into Dallas to go out there and lock it down. And instead, now Capps is the leader, and with 2 races to go by 1. And JR is in the mix also. Very just fun racing, good racing. And I just wanted to follow up on something. You had been mentioning, people crawling under cars on a regular basis. I finally got to the bottom of it in the final round with Alexis. Just chunks of the track sticking to the tires. And they'd have to go under and scrape them off, like pieces of circular concrete from the burnout. And that was happening with the Pro Mod cars and happening with the Nitro cars. I saw Lanny a couple times with a scraper go under there and try to get what he could off of there. Maybe a resurface is in the future at Bristol, hopefully at some point, but the character in their track definitely made it interesting.
And that was part of the personality of the place. It has been for a number of years. You're going to have to come in here. You're going to have to do some manipulating. I personally, now I'm not driving a race car and I'm not tuning a race car, but I personally like places that are a little bit of a challenge. One of the reasons I like Denver so much, it ain't easy to win there because it's so different from every place else we go. And if the personality of the track makes it a little bit more difficult to win there, I'm fine with that. It just means that you really got to work hard, and hopefully it means more when you do win there.
10 different winners in Funny Car this year. And we were looking at the points, and then, the fact that Tommy Johnson got one in there made it 10. And just looking at Wilkerson sitting 9th in the points, 241 out of the lead. Wilkerson has got such a great car. He's won a couple of races. It's just been very, very tough in the point standings. And to me, that's great. It's must-see TV if you're watching the NHRA.
The problem for Wilkerson is it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
You need to go to the semis. You need to get, you need to not lose in the first round on a regular basis. If you want to, when you win your races, that's a beautiful thing. But, like the pattern that you talked about in Texas, and, if you win one, lose one, first round, lose one, then it's definitely tough to make ground there. Though, I'd like to have, though, if I could figure out a way to make a lasso like Wonder Woman's, wouldn't you have loved to throw that lasso at Ron Capps in the first round and said, so who are you rooting for, Hagan or J.R. Todd?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no. The answer would have been, I think Capps would have told you. I think he would have told you. I'm rooting for J.R. Todd here. Sorry, because
no, my DSR teammate. Boy, we were my Dodge teammate. We all stick together. I'm always playing for them. And then
he's genuine.
I'd also like to get down there in the semifinals and put the lasso on Hagen and go, who are you rooting for? You want your DSR teammate to go out and win the race for Dodge? No. But he'd never admit that.
Well, I think I would hope they would. I would hope they would, because it's obvious. Come on, you're not going to root for somebody to beat you. Yeah, I hope I lose. That would be great. No way, but we'll see. Pro Stock Motorcycle. Scotty Polachek, number 1 qualifier, but gets beaten second round by Eddie. Eddie goes on to the semis where he's beaten by Angelle. Angelle coming out of the 13 hole. They figured it out. She beats Andrew. She beats Chris Bostic, who has been super quick. Hats off to Chris Bostic. I mean, if I was wearing one. And then Angelle beats both her teammates, goes to the final round against Karen, which I thought was cool and entertaining. And Karen got there by beating Lance Bonham, Ron Tornow, and Matt Smith. Speaking of people saving the day for the category and the points, and Angelle wins in the final round and pulls to within 25 of Matt Smith. Steve Johnson, who had a very tough and terrible weekend, finished is third, 56 out of the lead. Eddie Krawick, fourth. I don't know. Eddie's 4 positions back, but I think it's a 3-horse race. Matt Smith, Angelle, Steve Johnson. What about you?
I'm not ready to write Eddie off. I mean, those Vance and Hines guys, you know how good they are and if they can get on a roll. Angelle certainly right now looks like she's got the hottest bike in the category. And it's interesting because that's the first time I ever heard her say she was glad the race was over. And, she was not a fan of the way that the tunnels in particular were affecting the pro stock motorcycles. And she told me, she said, I actually went over to Andrew this morning and said, look, if you want to buy run, I'm fine with that. Just leave my bike in the trailer. I do not want to go out there and ride. And if you watch some of the slow motion, the tunnels were definitely having an effect on the motorcycles out there. Now, the motorcycles hadn't been there in 20 years. So It's not like you can just go back and go, okay, this is what we did last year. This is what we did the year before. This is what, they were going in there kind of flying blind a little bit. But it had been a long time since we had an all-female final round in the pros. As a matter of fact, the last all-female final round in the pro categories, I do believe, was Leah and Brittany in Phoenix, and that was 4 years ago. Last time it happened in the motorcycles was about 6 years ago. But, the 2 4-valve Vance and Hines Suzuki power plants, battling it out in the final. And, Angelle's on a little bit of a run right now, and, she's definitely going to be going into Vegas with some momentum.
She's got momentum, definitely, and she was very excited. Yeah, I saw a chart, wheel speed chart, and pretty amazing what they were dealing with out there and how challenging it was to get down the track. I'm very happy we got everybody out of there and we can look back and talk about it for the race that it was. But it was a little nerve-wracking, to say the least. The fans received it very well, though. They were loud. Somebody had mentioned earlier, like, why were the stands half empty? That's a big place. And was more than half full. They were just there were some people walking around, etc. People staying on the pit side. But I felt like we had a good crowd and they were enthusiastic. And that's the thing about Bristol. They're always enthusiastic. They're loud. They support their drivers. They cheer. The lady that used to love Alan Johnson, Pro Stock Alan Johnson, isn't there screaming anymore. But it was a good time, I think, was had by all. And we got it in and we got it in the books.
Yeah, I think the crowd was solid. I mean, on Saturday, when the day opens with cold and rain, and I don't think we did a burnout until 1:30 or 2 o'clock or something like that. And the day was cold. That certainly is going to keep some hardcore fans away. But Sunday, I thought was pretty solid. Was it sold out? Were they swinging? No, but it certainly wasn't an embarrassing crowd by any means, and it certainly wasn't half empty. The fans came out and supported. After having not been there for a year, it was very good to be back and to see everybody back at the racetrack. And next year we go back to Father's Day, so hopefully we'll have warm weather and a nice weekend in the middle of June, and everybody will come back out and support like they always have.
A lot of people were trying to manipulate that next year's schedule. Like, this is really nice out here right now. Maybe we can do this again in the future instead of in the middle of June when it's like sweltering and humid. It was a really fun and comfortable weekend, especially after the rain came through. Other winners from the weekend, Greg Stanfield wins Super Stock, takes over the world points lead, or maybe had even already been in the world points lead. Looking really good for the world.
He took it over there.
Okay. First win in 40 years at driving at Bristol, which he's like, Joe, 40 years. My first win here. He was super excited about that. Brett Candice, stock eliminator, first win, period. Jack Sapanic in Super Comp, Jake Elrod in Super Gas, which was kind of crazy because they both got a little loose in the final round. Chad Taylor in Top Dragster, and JR Gray wins in Pro Mod. Any final thoughts on any of those guys?
Well, just, Taylor, Chad Taylor is Jeff Taylor's son. It was his third national event win, his second one at Bristol. So for whatever reason, he loves that place. He won there in Superstock a couple of years ago, 17 or 18, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So, good for him coming back to a place he's comfortable with. And I was really happy for Candice. If he's watching, he'll hate me for pointing this out, but 5 finals that he had come up short. And, you really got to start thinking at that point, is it ever going to happen? And for him to finally pull through and win that deal at a track where his dad – their team back in the day had so much success at Bristol. And so I think that made it a little extra special for him. And for Stanfield, and I've been teasing Stanfield about it for the last 4 or 5 months. It's like, hey, your kid's catching you. Your kid's catching you. And so all of a sudden he's like, all right, I've had enough of that talk for now. Let's get back in the old comfortable car that I did so much winning in. And let's go, put another couple of marks on the board and see if we can keep the kid behind me for a little while longer. But, all in all, it was a pretty good weekend of racing for the people that were there. I think we really need to give a tip of the cap to the Sportsman racers. Had to do some schedule shuffling because of the weather. Ended up not running them on Saturday night. And I think that was the right choice to make. As cold as the racetrack was getting and the stuff Saturday night, I don't think any of them really wanted to go down there, but that meant they had to come out early on Sunday morning to run that extra round. And then, but it was really cool that they all, were able to, manipulate and work with us and do what needed to be done so that we could get it done.
Absolutely. No, we did what we had to do. And that's what always ends up happening, right? You do what you got to do, and you don't want to put anybody in a bad spot. And we didn't. So great job by everybody involved, and we'll see Bristol again next year. And now it's on to Vegas. California Hot Rod Reunion this weekend, something that I haven't been to just yet, the nostalgia scene at Bakersfield. A lot of the regulars going to be up there. That's a big part of the year. And, they go and hang out, and a lot of the legends will be out there. That'll be a cool deal. And then on to Vegas, where we'll be ending up our, the Summit champions will battle it out. And the SEMA show is going to be a thing as we get going again. How much we missed that a year ago, all being able to go. It was a limited crowd. So I'm hoping for a big crowd of racing fans going out to Vegas to enjoy a little, penultimate action in the NHRA.
I am as well. 2 weeks in Vegas, then on to Pomona, and then we'll put this one to bed. And also looking forward to Halloween in Vegas because, Vegas normally such a dreary, boring, sleepy little town. But at Halloween, it kind of perks up a little bit.
It does. It's going to be great. Alan, great job as usual. Thank you so much. Next week we'll be back and we'll get going. We'll talk a little Pro Stock as Pro Stock will be back. We'll talk about that championship battle and everything that's going to go down in Vegas as we get ready to roll out to Sin City.
Looking forward to it, Joe. Have a great week. Enjoy your weekend at home. And I'm going to be spending some time with my motorcycles this weekend and working on a few things around the house that I've been putting off. All
right. Get it done. Thank you, Alan. There he goes. The NHRA's Alan Reinhart with us here on WFO Radio. And thank you, everybody out there who's watching the show. Do we have any first-time viewers out there? First-time viewers? That's the whole deal. We want to get first-time viewers. Let me know in the comment section if you're a first-time viewer of WFO Radio, whether you're on YouTube or watching on Twitter or watching on the F-Book, whatever you are watching. In our group, say, first-time viewers, let me know if you're a first-time viewer as I go back through some of the comments in the comments section. We'll talk a little bit about that. But I got to tell you about the people who make it possible for us to do WFO. Like, this doesn't happen by accident. We reach out to potential sponsors, approved sponsors, people who would, put together good businesses and want to support us. But we also have our Patreons. Patreon.com/WFO Radio. You can join up for monthly. You can join up by the year. You can get some swag once you reach a certain threshold. But the bottom line is you get behind the scenes content and information. It's the advisory board. It's the listener club. They get to watch the Ignition show. They get to participate with the Ignition podcast. And the Patreons all kind of come on and they bring their own take to it. You can find it on our website, WFOradio.com, or go to patreon.com/WFO Radio. We don't promote this a whole lot like out there on the social media because I really feel like it's an emotional thing, a word of mouth. You want to join WFO Radio and be a part of it. You'll do it. You'll figure it out. Simple as that. We don't want people who are just like about the show. People who aren't just about the show are sponsors as well, like Frank and Lana Hawley. Frank Hawley, the Dragster Adventure. You know, Alan talks about going through one of his courses, and whenever I get the chance, I go over and try to pick his brain for information because he's one of the most knowledgeable people about drag racing, driving, and mental attitude of anyone in the world. But I talk about the Dragster Adventure all the time because think if you're a savvy person, you can go drive dragsters and learn a whole bunch and have fun and even set up a race and make it a day project for your business, corporate, like retreat kind of style. Right? Bring your best salespeople or your best employees or people you want to reward for doing such a great job for you in this very difficult time. That's everybody is wondering if they're appreciated in the workplace. And most people aren't, honestly. So why don't you show your employees or your best clients that you appreciate them with a day at the Dragster Adventure? FrankHawley.com. Tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. Be sure to say that to all of our sponsors, like samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. You know, a couple of folks were talking about the Engine Performance Expo, and I think it was Bill who was on there a little bit earlier. I don't know if I put the comment up or not, but he said it's amazing how much you don't know, and it is so true. How much you don't know about things that you think you know, but you don't know, or maybe you do know and you still don't know. It's the problem with being an expert. They say you got to do 10,000 hours if you want to be an expert in everything. Well, Samtech can get you a leg up on that. Go to Samtech. And another thing that I've learned in speaking with a lot of these, you know, famous engine builders, they say that when you've gone to Samtech, it shows that you're serious because you've made an investment in yourself. And that's hard to combat. Like, look, I'm already into this financially. I'm going to see it through, and this is what I want to do. All amazing stuff. Check out that Engine Performance Expo. The Samtech video is up there, but give him a call. Call Brian Massengo. Ask for him in person. Tell him you heard about it on WFO Radio. If you're looking for a career and you're looking to follow in those footsteps, what is it? If you can make chips, you'll always have a living. And it is true. Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, totalseal.com. Hartford will be back out at the track in Vegas, but they are busy. They're very busy. And if you have not yet made the switch to Total Seal, I don't know what you're waiting for, honestly, because they have proven that they have the most advanced technology, and just the racers that they already supply should be enough. TotalSeal.com. Check them out. And then there's Marvin Rodak, RodaksCoffeeandGrills.com. Hot sauces and spice rub. And the coffee you see me drinking every day on WFO Radio is Rodak's coffee. Roasted fresh per your order, like blends from that he makes, drag racing themed, like Bang the Blower, which is heavily caffeinated. That's the theme, get it? But also exotics from around the world. And that's just part of it. The habanero endorphin booster hot sauces and all the different unique hot sauces from Rodak's. They've got it all going on. And stay tuned. They've got some good things coming as well, like some marketing partnerships that came together here on WFO Radio. Give Marvin a call, 817-924-6821, or just go to his website. You can get there via WFOradio.com. But tell him you heard about it on WFO Radio. Our new merch store is getting ready to go up, getting ready to launch, where you can get WFO gear and t-shirts and all kinds of stuff on there. In the meantime, go to WFOradio.com, WFO store, get ready. You will soon see the new merch store. And big thanks to our friends at Nitro Fish for doing a great job with our 10th anniversary t-shirt over the years. And I'm super excited. If you want some free stickers, you can get that on the website too. Yeah, that's right, free, but you got to do the busy work, right? Busy work, self-addressed stamped envelope to this address. Castello Media/WFO stickers, P.O. Box 848353, Pembroke Pines, Florida 33084. And if you miss any information on the show, you can always pause and rewind. Go back. And all these videos and all these shows and the audio link, because after all, it is an audio podcast first, end up on WFOradio.com in the archive section. All right, let's see what people have to say. Let's see. Nicole, I missed part of your show. Are you coming to PRI? Are you going to do podcasts here? I will be at PRI. I will be doing some WFO stuff. I will also be appearing in the Total Seal booth. We'll be doing hidden horsepower on location. So if you're going to PRI, please make plans to swing by the Total Seal booth and watch a little hidden horsepower live. But yeah, I fully intend to go to PRI. Yeah, it's exciting. Where all the rest of the information will drop so much. Maddie is out there. What's up, Maddie? Roger Richards, Geezerville. What's up, Roger? Good hanging out with you this past weekend. Roger Richards One of the greats. And that's one of the big things about WFO radio for all you new and first-time listeners out there who will hopefully join us on a regular basis. Yes, this is a long-form talk show, guys. It's not a 15-second or a 5-second thing for the ADD people out there who have the all-direction drive. No, it's a talk show. We keep you company for a portion of your day. And that's why it's a podcast, because not everybody can be watching, but some can be watching. You're not obligated to watch every single day, but we'd love for you to listen every single day. And our Ignition show, it's a serial show, like it's connected, and it's not all racing. It's fun. There's characters. There's people involved that are fun and funny. We're blessed to have Mike Salinas in our sport. Can't wait to hear from Mike later in the week. Mike is traveling tomorrow, so we're not going to have Mike. We have Alexis on Thursday at 1, and I'm going to reach out to Angelle about tomorrow. Joey Rocket. Great show, Joey. So glad for Alexis, Nikki, and Dell, and Matt, and those Nitro Bandits. Yeah, me too. Nikki, I got to spend a couple minutes with Nikki after the race. So great for those guys, because think of what they did. Like, they left Coletta and they went over to this thing that they were going to do, and what's the deal, and they got to win, and justified all the changes and sacrifice. Not that, Nikki needs it, but come on, Nikki is like a lifer in drag racing. And it was just a very popular win, I think. Very popular win. Very cool. See you there. If you need studio time, I can hook you up at a television station. Oh, well, thank you very much, Nikki. Good job. I like that. Winter views this week, Lonnie. We've got Alexis on Thursday at 1 o'clock, and tomorrow is open, but I am working on it as we speak. I'm going to start. Did your hot sauce arrive from the airport? Not yet, Monica, but I have a feeling this is the kind of thing. It's only been a week and 1 day. The people at the American Airlines priority desk, they told, you can't go, and the plane's closed, and this and that. We'll ship it to you. Write down your address. And so I did, but I didn't receive like a receipt or anything. It's just all good faith, goodwill, and humanity. Do I believe I'm going to get it? Yes, I do. Those nice people over there are going to do the right thing, and they're going to not take my coffee and hot sauce from Marvin, and they're going to put it in a box and going to send it to me at their own expense. Are they going to do that? Stay tuned to WFO to find out the truth, right? We're going to find out. Every once in a while, you got to take a leap of faith. Now, if I had been 100% at the time, I might not have done it this way. But, the goodwill of mankind, I still believe in it. I really do. Optimism is a force multiplier. Colin Powell. Stephen Glenn. Joe, I've been watching this Attention to the Pits on YouTube. They are great. You do an awesome job. Is there a way to watch the Facebook Live segments you do when I miss them? Yes, the answer is yes, Stephen. You can go to Facebook and just scroll through the NHRA feed. You just got to scroll back. And the thing about Facebook is it doesn't delete anything, but you just got to go back in time. And so we did a great deal from the staging lanes, super stock. Was it stock or super stock? It was stock eliminator. We're getting ready for round 1. They were getting paired up, and we were in the lanes during the chaos while they were being paired, which is a fun thing that most people don't get to see. You see them on track all the time. You don't get to see the sausage get made back there. Where's number 20? Where is it? Get over here. That kind of stuff. Very stressful, but cool time. We interviewed some drivers. We had a good time. We love shining the spotlight on the Lucas Oil Series racers. Like when, if there's a legacy. This is my 10th year in the NHRA, working for NHRA. 10 years, 50 years as a fan, 10 years working for the sanction. And if at any point, like if I was to, plane fly through the roof right here and off me, what would one of my legacies be? Like, what would I like it to be? Like, really tried hard to shine the spotlight on the Sportsman racers and their unbelievable machines. Like that, to me, it's right here. They are the backbone of the sport, and often, sometimes don't feel they get as much attention as they deserve for their work. And certainly they're never going to get enough attention for the work that they put in, because it's just endless. But we are really trying really hard to share that experience with the casual fan, the John Force fan, the Ron Capps fan, that NHRA is a lot more than just Nitro. It's hardworking, wonderful people and personalities who are cool as can be, with amazing machines that go super fast. And that's what it's all about. And that's what Attention in the Pits is all about. And they are all on YouTube, and you can watch them. And I do wonder sometimes that they don't get shared more, right? Like these little crappy videos, sorry, that are just little regular cars out there getting hundreds of thousands of views. And we put together this wonderful interview production. It's like 5 minutes long. It's definitely not too long. And people like them, 89 likes, no retweets. And that's annoying. Yeah. And Joe, part of his legacy is he wasn't afraid to share what annoyed him on the show. And that's why you have a show, so you can share what annoys you. Mike Hepp, what's up? Hello from Bristol, Pennsylvania. What's up, Mike? Steve, always enjoy your show. Great job, guys. But you notice I'm not finding the first-time listeners out there. Second time live. Way to go, Richard. Thank you for joining us live. Will the Bodies be at Vegas? Don't they dress up for Halloween? Sometimes. I don't know. I think, wow, you're Bobby Bodie. Why go to Vegas? You can't do any gambling. I don't know. I'll have to check the entry list available on NHRA.com. Are you going to get the winners on WFO? Isn't that what WFO is? The whole backbone, the cornerstone of WFO is the winner views. We get the winners. Yeah, we were gone 1 week. We didn't get the winners. We were at Engine Performance Expo, and the whole thing falls apart. But we're going to get them next week. I'm going to reach out to Caps and Greg Anderson and Justin Ashley for next week. Right before Vegas. It's going to be perfect. Street Drags and Kingman this weekend. Good luck. Have fun. Looking forward to seeing us in Vegas. And there you go. Any other comments before we get on out of here? Really enjoy your reporting during the races. Thank you very much. I like that. I like doing it. You know, it's a big part of what I do. We just haven't had as much free and available time this year. But I was real proud of the Drive the Stripe bit at Dallas with Dallas Glenn and Kid Chaos and Austin Williams, who ultimately went on to win the race. Like, to me, that's my favorite bit that we do. Because, number one, it's an innovation, right? Like going to the NHRA and going down to the top end where you're supposed to watch breakout categories and watching the drivers do their superhero moves and showing and trying to, beyond my even understanding, with racers who can point out what it is. Now, I would love to see that evolve with a CompuLink screen down there and able to really break down some of the numbers, but done in real time. Like, that's what going to the racetrack with me is like. That's where I go down there. And it's been great. But the attention to the pit stuff, I'm happy you guys are liking it. All right. Tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time. No idea what's going to happen. I'm going to reach out to Angelle. Hopefully she's available. That's number one. And then Thursday, Alexis DeJoria. That one's locked. The archive is loaded. You guys can go and listen to the Ignition Show. Sue Morris, Stubo, Dave and Sue. They got beat first round, but she has a whole explanation as to why. The sport's really hard. That's the explanation. We had a lot of great guests on there. It was a lot of fun. Talked a little bit about, some of the current events and happenings. Certainly NASCAR, Kyle Larson, little Formula One in Miami, and Circuit of the Americas is this weekend. Formula One in Austin, Texas. I'm sure some drag racers will be down there. You need to do Drive the Stripe more often. Yeah, it's not about desire. It's about time and availability. Time and availability. It's just there's too many good ideas to execute. It's just too much. So we do it every once in a while. Hopefully you want more. That's all we can do. Great show today, says Monica. Let's see, Brenwell, longtime listener, first-time caller. WFO Afternoon Drive. Paul, really enjoy your reporting. There it is. That's it. Everybody's done. Thank you very much, guys. Check out the website. Remember, YouTube. We want everybody to migrate to YouTube. Subscribe and click the bell. YouTube. Smash the bell. Share this. Thanks for another great show. Yeah, it's just, I hate asking people to do stuff. We are racing at the California Hot Rod Reunion. You have to make the trip someday. Caps told me if I'm going to go to one or the other, it's got to be the March meet, which is right before the Gator Nationals. But I agree. I got to do it. I got to see it. I got to make the pilgrimage. And I will. Right now, though, I'm working on my own stuff. I got to figure this out. What am I going to do with this car? What is the plan? My own deal. And thank you to everybody who reached out and said nice things about the car this past weekend. Remember, you can go check out the Engine Performance Expo at engineperformanceexpo.com. All kinds of great content up there, so much so that I can't even begin to relate to it. Like, there was just so much information. All right, guys, we'll be back later on in the week. WFO, watch for that notification. Thanks to Alan Reinhart.